This is a Hope 1032 podcast.
This information, including taxation, is general in nature and does not consider your individual circumstances or needs. Do not act until you seek professional advice and consider the relevant product disclosure statement.
Michelle Stone, trading as Feel Good Financial Planning, is an authorised representative of Feel Good Financial Australia, Propriety Limited, AFSL 545909.
To She Wasn't Born Yesterday for women who are 40 plus fabulous by the Empty Nest Chicks. I'm Janet Evans, ex-M&C Saatchi advertising creative, who have won numerous radio and TV awards. Not that that'll affect us because we're doing a podcast.
And I'm Dr. Amelia Haynes, who has been a medical doctor for 30 years and specialising in sexual health and mental health and relationships, and I'm generally a very useful human being.
Well, we'll find out about that, but we are here to work together.
People tell me on good authority that I am.
Really? Yes, well, they never say that to me, so I think we're the perfect hosts for She Wasn't Born Yesterday. Well, Dr. Amelia, I saw a meme during the week that said men tend to choose higher paying careers like doctor, engineer, lawyer or CEO, while women tend to choose lower paying careers like female doctor, female engineer, female lawyer or female CEO. And I know that it's sort of a bit of dark humour.
It's a very good joke.
But the gender pay gap is real and it's right there. As of this year, they're saying that, women in full-time jobs earn about 13 grand less than men in equivalent full-time jobs, which means that they would have to work the equivalent of 8 weeks extra per year to get the same pay. That's obviously not, that's a bit of meat on the meme, but that's obviously not the only reason that women seem to be disadvantaged financially even when we're working.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's got a lot to do with what we choose to do too. So we would choose to be nurses or childcare workers or other such jobs a lot more than men would as well. So that's not a gender pay gap. That's kind of a gender choice. In a way, a choice of profession. So that must be part of it.
Well, our next guest has some very, very interesting points of view on all of this because she is, in fact, Michelle Stone, financial advisor, and you are the principal owner and lead financial advisor with Feel Good Financial Planning. And it feels very good to have you here, Michelle.
Thank you so much, Janet and Amelia. It's lovely to be here.
Wow, we're really looking forward to you because one really interesting thing is that a lot of people who listen to the podcast have actually asked us to sort of pass on questions to you because at this age and stage, I guess 40 plus fabulous, we really are sort of staring down the barrel of, suddenly you have to start thinking about retirement at least.
If you haven't already.
Yes, if you haven't already, yes. And you are kind of starting to think, look at my super balance, it's not great. So a lot of people have asked us questions and they are from all sorts of walks of life and also different stages. So single, widowed, divorced, remarried. So people who've received inheritances, which isn't us, by the way, even though we'd like to. But the other thing about you is you're an award winner. You have won the 2024 Women in Wealth Awards Financial Planner of the Year overall. So you're a great asset to this chat.
That's a brilliant award.
I know. It's not bad, Michelle. Wow.
Thank you.
But we'd really love to dive straight in and chat to you because you have a rather interesting point of view about this whole choice of career idea and why women can be financially disadvantaged by those choices. Would you like to share some of that with us?
Yeah, sure. So I do agree with what Dr. Amelia was saying before about some of the more caring professions are lower paid, right? So I do agree with that. So I just want to come out in saying that. The other thing is that there are studies done that women will want to feel 100% qualified before they apply for a promotion or before they apply for a role. Whereas a man will need to feel about 60% confident that he's going to get that. So I do think that that is the way that women are raised, in our societal structure. This is my opinion because, I'm a financial planner. I just know what I see as it relates to money and as it relates to finances. So, women do tend to take on the more caring roles, but also women's standards for themselves are terribly high, and men's standards for themselves, given the same field, given the same job, are lower, right? So as at today, or as at the research that I did this morning, we make up almost 50% of the workforce, right? 47.9% of the workforce, according to the Workplace Gender Equality Agency, which is actually run by the government. So, if we all stood up tomorrow and said, well, we're not going to work for anything less than equal pay, what do you think would happen? Right? Like the whole country would shut down without women working. Okay. So first of all, it's research. What is my role worth? Get on to Seek. They'll have pay guides on there. Find out, even if you've got someone that is working for a big organisation, find out what other people are on if you can find out, and negotiate that when you're in your pay reviews. And know what you're worth. So first of all, do some research, know what you're worth. I don't play into this whole helplessness thing, okay? So if this is the rise of the matriarchy and we are the leaders of that, which is something that I believe, right? Yes. We have to, do our research, figure out what our worth is and not accept anything less. Because if we've got 47.9% of the workforce not accepting anything less, what do you think will happen? Right? It's not playing into that helplessness. I don't really like to encourage the whole, gender inequality conversation because it entrenches inequality, right? Yeah. Let's move beyond that. Do our research. This is what this job is worth. Let's go for it. Now, if you've been a stay-at-home parent or whatever, that is beautiful. Those were your goals. You wanted to be a stay-at-home parent. Just own that and then work out what you can do from there.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I think, one of the questions I was going to ask down the track was, that whole, when you take mat leave and you might be out of the workforce for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Yeah. In my own experience, it was thinking about going back. I was actually incredibly anxious and worried about whether I was keeping up to speed with what was happening lately, whether the job would be the same, how people would perceive you, when you had to leave early and things like that, to do school pickups and stuff like that. So I lacked some confidence actually when it came to negotiating my pay and my position because I felt like I wasn't at that level to be able to do that.
No, I understand.
What sort of advice do you think you'd have for people in that position?
So I think that wherever you're at, you have to own wherever you're at with kind of like a pride and also a compassion for yourself that, those were your goals. So in financial planning, we look at what people's goals are. And if your goal is to have a baby and to raise them and make sure that they don't have to go to daycare for the first, year of their life or 6 months of their life, and, you achieved that goal, that's a celebration. That's not something where you're like, I've been behind the door, I'm missing out or whatever. We can help change those societal perceptions because part of this is just cultural. So I think you pay respect for that. I do get the worry. From a financial planning perspective, there are things called super splitting. If you've got a man that's working and, those are the roles that you've decided to take on. I see it in reverse as well, where the man stays at home and the woman's the main income earner. You can super split up to 85% of the superannuation that goes in from the working spouse's super. And the 85% relates to the 15% tax that's removed. It is the whole amount, it's just minus the tax.
Sure.
And so when we were chatting before we actually started recording, Michelle, you were saying that your approach is a little bit different to other advisors. So how would you describe it?
Yeah, sure. So our goal is basically to help people become the happiest version of themselves by being in full alignment with their goals. So goals-based financial planning is actually what the law stipulates we must do. But we kind of take it to that next level and go, okay, what's the happiest version of your life? life. What goals do you have that can support that? And then all the financial planning is built around that to put you in a position where you can achieve your goals. And we use traditional financial planning tools to be able to do that. So I guess what we do, and some other advisors do it, is we're very personal development focused. Okay, so it's very unique to the individual what is right for you and what's going to make you happy. And we just hold space for people where they can unpack that.
That is really fascinating. And it also sounds slightly dangerous to me because because I do what I do and I see different people's personalities. Like, surely you must see some people who are just massively unrealistic about what they're going to be able to achieve. And then you're going to see some other people who indeed would be able to be encouraged by you to be much bolder in what they think they might achieve. But you must get some massive kind of non-meeting of kind of goals and expectations.
Yeah, not very often, actually.
Okay.
And that does surprise me. To be honest, it does surprise me. And I think the reason why is because most people that want to come to see a financial planner, they're already positioned for that unless they're coming to me because they're in a crisis. So this is to do with, what you were speaking about before we came on today, which was about, do people come to see financial planners because the cost of living is so expensive right now? And, people are doing it tough. So are they afraid to actually reach out for the help that they so desperately need because they can't afford it? And then you're in this catch-22 situation cycle. So the people that I tend to see, and I'll be completely honest with you, they are people that can save. They have problems for me to solve, right? Because, that they have things in place. The alternative to that is people that come to me when they're really on their down and out, they're divorced, they've just had someone pass away that's dear to them and that sort of thing. People that need to go on claim because they're hurt or they're very sick. And because of the nature of, when you have really hard things like that in your life, you're not really feeling optimistic or positive. So I don't have to shoot those people down. I have to, try to lift them up. And then everyone else is like rather pragmatic. Very rarely will I get someone that I've got to kind of like bring them down to earth a little bit and ground them in reality of what you can achieve. And the way that you do that very simply is you just start to break it down and you go, okay, your goal's to have, $3 million. Why do you want $3 million? Because remember, I'm happiness-based, right? So why do you want $3 million? What's that going to do? And once you start to kind of unpack it, very quickly the whole thing falls apart. They actually don't want that. It's just some number that they've picked that they thought sounded good, right? Because what do people want? People want to wake up in the morning, put their feet on the floors and be happy to be here. Yeah. That's what people want. It's all we want. We want to be surrounded by people that we love. We want to be having beautiful experiences. Money is just a tool to achieve those things so that you can have the heating on in your house, so that you can afford the nice pair of socks, so that your feet aren't too cold in the morning. Like, we are simple creatures. That's my view.
I heard this expression once that money can't buy happiness, but it can buy you a house next door.
Absolutely.
So, I thought that was pretty interesting.
I like that. Yes. I like
but
that.
Michelle, one thing you've also said to us is that about a third of your clients are single women over 40 who've navigated divorce, repartnering, or the death of parents and inheritances. So, a third of your clients are single women over 40 in these positions.
Yes.
Tell us more about how you would work with them and how you can help them be more empowered, I guess.
Absolutely. So, I work with single women, much in the same way that I would work with anyone. But to me, they're just like a really special breed of people, and I speak to that as a person that's been divorced. I speak to that as a person that's been a single mum for a long time. And, I have a lot of compassion for people that have gone through divorce and things like that. All that I want to do is be that rock for those people to, put them in contact with the right tools. Okay, so make sure that is your solicitor working hard enough for you? Do you know how to use the child support calculator? Are you going for child support, or are you scared of your ex because he's financially abused you and gaslighted you into believing all these different things that you can't go for? So what we want to do and if any of your listeners have kind of been in this position, once you go through that yourself, you become a way leader, because you've learnt the hard way, which is, that's the way I learn best, seemingly, the hard way.
Actually, I think that's true for everyone. Don't feel bad, Michelle. No, that's true for all of us. We're much more useful as people when we've gone through the bad thing.
Yeah.
Can resonate.
Absolutely. So I guess what I want to do is just give to people what I've learnt, much the same as when people are buying a house. When you're doing it for the first time by yourself, it's so frightening. Like even as a financial services professional, when I bought my first home by myself, like owner-occupier, it was so scary, and I was on the phone to my best friend who's worked in real estate for 25 years, nearly every day, trying to pick her brain of what to do. So, one thing I think women do really well is we have this beautiful sense of community and, we're not afraid to ask questions. And I think that that's a real strength for us. Like I'm very pro-women, if you haven't figured that out already.
No, we have picked that up.
Are you sure?
I was going to say, now I want to ask I like men. I like men. So it's good
absolutely.
I'm not being horrible,
Me
but
too.
I'm kind of curious.
Yeah.
How many single men come and see you? Like what percentage of your clients are actually single men?
A couple, but only people that have gone through breakups. And when you're a financial planner, you kind of have a conflict of interest, so you have to choose one person.
Yes.
And I always choose the person that hasn't behaved poorly.
Like that.
So I'm like, okay, you want to make your bed, you lie in it.
Yeah.
But it's not my business, but really I think I've got a bit of a soft heart. So, I'll pick whoever I think needs me more.
Yeah.
I do have some single men, but they don't come to me. They kind of like inadvertently find themselves there. Whereas single women seek me out because a woman wants another woman as a financial planner. And there's not very many of us around. We're pretty rare. So.
Yes.
Huh.
Well, one of our listeners, a single woman, she asked quite an extensive question. I hope you'll bear with us. But she said, is it impossible as a single older person who's never owned a property to get a loan? A conversation with a bank several years ago went nowhere. I'd like to take advantage of the government housing schemes for single parents and women over 55. But I haven't been confident in looking for a loan. Really not sure what my options will be in a few years when my youngest is 18. I've been in private rental all my life, subsidised by child support and single parent pensions. And I thought, wow, this is quite a specific set of circumstances. But you kind of wonder about this whole getting a loan thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, what I would say is go and find a really nice mortgage broker and get some support with them because they can give you some really good guidance, okay? So
is there actually anything, like I'm asking completely innocently here.
Sure.
Is there such a thing as a really nice mortgage broker? Do they exist?
Nice people are everywhere. Nice people are absolutely everywhere. And if you go to the referral link on my website, I've got some good mortgage brokers I work with. So feelgoodfp.com.au. In terms of what I would do, you need to bring it into reality. So when you've got a goal, you've got to do the things like you are going to achieve that goal because what's standing in between you and yourself is your attitude. So you have to go, okay, first of all, I believe that anything can be possible. So that could be a Pollyanna-ish kind of attitude to bring into the world, but that's just the way that I think. So first of all, I would say if you want to get a house, that is possible. But depending on what your current circumstances are, there might be more steps that you have to take than another person that's in a different situation. So step one, wherever you're at, it's right for you. You did the best that you could. Like, look at all the beautiful things that you have in your life now, because what you want to do when you're problem solving is your brain needs to be open and expanded with a sense of the richness of your life, the gratitude, all of that sort of thing. You then go, okay, let's start to look online and figure out what's what, because on every major lender's website, there is a borrowing power calculator. There is a loan repayment calculator. Have a play around on those calculators, work out, okay, given my current level of savings, given my current level of expenses and my surplus cash flow, this is what a bank will lend me. Okay, now if it's nothing or if it's little, then you need to increase your borrowing power. How can you increase your borrowing power? You need to earn more money. No one's going to come and save you. Right? So this is where the hard Michelle comes in. No one's coming to save you. There's no white knight in shining armour. There's none of that. You are that person. You are that person, right? So if you want it, you have to make it happen. Okay. Now, there's many different ways that you can make it happen, but pick a way. Start to work with a professional. You can see a mortgage broker for free. Play around with the free tools and calculators, right? Know your own metrics. How much do I have in savings? If it's zero, you've got to have something, at least between 2 and 10%. It depends on what government initiative you're looking to go in for. The government do this. They open up initiatives and then they close them down. But there's different ones coming online all the time. You've still got the stamp duty exemption. There's different things like that. But even if you want to work on a worst case scenario of 10% deposit with lender's mortgage insurance, work out where can you afford to live. You don't have to own the place that you live in. You can rent vest. It's incredibly popular.
Talk us through that, Michelle. Rent vest. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, okay. So you own property, but you don't live in it. And essentially what it does is the interest component on the loan is deductible against your income. Okay, so depending on what the expenses are on that property, it can actually be more financially advantageous to rent vest than to live in an owner-occupier property, right? And depending on what suburb you want to live in, my old mentor used to say to me, you live where you want to live and you buy where you can afford. A lot of people don't want to do that because there's a lot of stigma for renters in Australia, which is absolutely rubbish and unfair. I'm speaking as someone that rented for a really long time myself. And I owned property. People don't care. There's a stigma. You have to be real about that, right? But really, at the end of the day, if you're using happiness as your own objective, if you're using your goals as the objective, you've got to, somehow filter that out, I guess, to some degree, which is difficult. And I do acknowledge that.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because historically, I feel like single women always found it much more difficult to get a loan than married women. Obviously because of the combined income, but is that still the case?
No, it's circumstances that make it difficult. So it's all the things that we're talking about. So it's not the fact that you're a single woman anymore, right? No, so maybe, in the 1960s or whatever, but certainly now and certainly with the other mortgage professionals that I work with or the other banking professionals that I work with, it's got nothing to do with gender and it's got everything to do with how much asset you have, what your cash flow is, the fact that women take lower paying jobs because we're not kind of going out.
As we've discussed.
Yes. We're not kind of going out there faking it until we make it. We make sure that we're 110% qualified before we do anything. And that can change at any time. We can change that at any time. So, one of the things that I've become aware of a lot more lately is, I've been self-employed for a very long time, so I haven't had to kind of deal with people mansplaining to me or so on. But it's like the universe is trying to teach me a lesson because I've had so many people in the past week before this podcast trying to mansplain things to me.
Really?
There you go. Absolutely.
We'll never do that to you, Michelle.
No, you wouldn't because you're better than that. But it's really... I think empathy is really important. So, I want to be an empathetic financial planner when I come on your show and I'm giving you answers to things. So, I think that it's nice to experience those things because some people are dealing with that all the time.
Don't worry, you're coming across as extremely empathetic.
Way too empathetic. You're never going to make heaps of money, Michelle.
No. You sound appropriate. It sounds appropriate. It's good.
Another thing that has obsessed people who listen to this is how much super do I need to retire?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Everywhere you go, you see those little online quizzes, I'll find out how much super.
Absolutely.
And it seems to vary from 100,000 through to 6 million, and it's like...
Absolutely.
It's just a huge question.
Yes, I think it's really important to get onto that as soon as possible, right? Like the best time was 10 years ago, the second best time is today. And, we've all heard that, So essentially... I did some research before I came onto your program just to make sure that I'm giving people the tools that I would use if I couldn't access the super expensive software that we as financial planners use. So essentially there's the Association of Superannuation Funds Australia, or ASFA. They have something called Super Guru. So we've actually put the link on our website, so feelgoodfp.com.au, and it's under the...
Was that Super Guru?
Super Guru. So...
Love it.
So Super Guru, so that's ASFA. So we've put that and some of the other government calculators on our website that we like, but that particular thing that you're talking about, there's a retirement tracker calculator that you can go to, and it basically does what we would call in financial planning a gap analysis, right? So it does a couple of different things. So first of all, you put in what your age is, your income, how much super you've already got, okay? It does make some assumptions on returns and fees, which will skew out the calculation, okay? But I don't think as a layperson you're going to know enough to be able to put in the right settings. So if you just want to use a standardised setting, that's appropriate. And then what it's got at the bottom is a little toggle. Say you pick ASFA single comfortable, right? Because you're a single lady and you want to have a comfortable lifestyle. It will come up with a figure that you need. And if you're away from that, there's a little salary sacrifice toggle down the bottom where you can put it up and then it'll show you how much will bridge that gap. Okay, so it's called a gap analysis. So what do I need to retire on? So first of all, one of the things that I like to get my clients to do so they actually know how much they're spending is you go into your banking software, you generate an Excel spreadsheet for the past 12 months. Trust me, if you play around long enough, you'll find it. And then you sort out that Excel spreadsheet into alphabetical order and it'll give you your categories. Take out any capital expense items, which are big one-off things that it's not going to be year on year. Okay, so say you bought a new car, say you bought a new phone, super expensive dress that you'll never wear again. Take those out.
That's strangely specific. Anyway, yes.
It was, wasn't it? I've never done that before. And then basically you've got what your spend is, okay? So you just add it up, your auto add it up, and then it'll be down the bottom. So that is a way to find out what your living expenses are, which is what we work to as financial planners. So my thing is you don't seek to change yourself, you seek to learn and understand yourself, apply some compassion, and then just make small little tweaks, okay? Because that's sustainable. Going for a complete change, not sustainable for any more than a week. So in terms of...
You're also speaking from experience there, right?
700%. So in terms of the ASFA, they also have this beautiful thing, and financial planners use it all the time. It's called the ASFA Retirement Standard. So it's updated quarterly. And what it is, it's data that's collected on what people's budget breakdown is, okay, into single and comfortable. So you will pick, if you're single or a couple, standard or comfortable lifestyle. Okay, so I'm a financial planner, so people aren't going to be picking simple, let me tell you that for free. They're going to be spending a little bit more than comfortable. But in terms of what that does is it shows you what other retirees are spending their money from. Now, one major criticism that's levelled at ASFA, right, is that it's for people that own their own homes and live in their own homes. Okay, so as we have already discussed in this, and something that I feel very passionate about is homelessness in older women, okay, people that can't afford their own homes. And homelessness isn't living on the streets. It's sleeping on someone's couch. It's being in someone's spare room. It's living with your children. It's literally just not having your own home. That's what it is, okay? So it can look very nice and clean on the outside, but ASFA doesn't speak to that. So because 30% of our population rent, right? So a third of our population rent. Hopefully that's something that can be addressed at a later time, because it's such a beautiful resource that this association are putting out and we all use it. And I think that, we're going to see increasing amounts of renting just because the cost of housing has so vastly which is not a word, outpace, outpaced wage growth. Yeah, thank you. It is a concern. People are concerned about it. Financial planners are concerned about it, okay? And I think that there's problems that are entrenching that, and the biggest thing is supply. So we've all heard that, and we all know that, and it is true. It is supply. It's supply and demand. There's other different things that can be done as well, but we're probably not here to talk about that. So just
no, we'll have you back to talk about that. Yeah,
anytime.
Thank you. So just to go back, the Ask for Super Guru, or go to the Feel Good Financial Planning website and look at the tools and calculators. We usually link from two sources, right? So one's an association source, one is the government sources, okay, of calculators, and we put the ones that we like on there, okay, because we want you to be using things that are actually helpful and useful and can show you what you need to learn really quickly. And even what I want, if you don't mind, you two to do is get onto that website. It's a single pager. You just put it all in, click, and then, just see what you have to do.
Right.
Attractive.
The single page thing appeals to me.
Very attractive.
It's a single page.
Yeah.
They've put a lot of effort. Like, it's not my thing, right? But it's just that what I want to do is help people that can't afford a financial planner figure out if they're going to have enough money to retire on, right? And it's never too late to start, but you've got to start now. The other thing that you can do is have a look at your asset allocation or what your investment option is inside your fund. So if you're invested all in cash, let's just say, okay, it's going to have no growth component. So if you invested all in cash, you're going to be getting whatever the cash rate is. At the moment, it's not too bad, okay? But inflation is also sitting at a higher as well, which does adjust that down. So if you want to look at, okay, I'm young, I've got that long-term time frame, you go in, you look at investment options, okay? Indexing is a good place to start because it's essentially like you're getting what the market gets. You don't have active fund managers in there picking and choosing stocks. So there's low portfolio turnover, keeps the costs down, and, helps to get the returns higher, all things being equal.
Sounds good. But is that something that you would sit down and work out with people
Yes.
when they come and see you?
Yes. One of the main things that we do is sit down and talk to people about their investment preferences. And if they don't have any preference, it's just a client education piece. So what we want to do is demystify these things. It's never been a better time to educate yourself on financial planning and things that financial planners would traditionally do. So say, for example, you're with an industry fund, you go onto their website, you click into their investment options and have a read of it, have a read of the different descriptions and go, does this one fit me? Now, the higher the exposure to growth assets, so growth assets are property shares. Okay, it's the simplest way I can explain it to you. Okay, so they're not just paying income. You also have growth that has higher levels of volatility, which means moving up and down and potential for loss. Now, a loss is something that you've got to be pragmatic about because if the market itself is down, and say, for example, you're in an industry fund, okay, with an index fund option, and the market is down, that's a good time to buy. That's a good time to buy because it means the unit price is lower. So when your money's going into your super fund, okay, you're not just putting dollars in there, you're purchasing units or your fund's purchasing units on your behalf, okay? So much like when there's I like to explain things in terms of property because people really understand the property market because we're obsessed by it as Australians, absolutely obsessed by it. If the house next door goes down 20%, would you try to find a way to buy it? Say it goes down 30%. Would you try to find a way to buy it?
Would it go down 100% ever?
Only if society collapses and then we're all living in caves together, Janet.
It's possible.
Essentially, you've got to step back and kind of look at it pragmatically and go, okay, look, depends on your time horizon. Am I, 45 years old and I still have 15 years before my condition of release, which is age 60 currently? Pension age is 67, so quite a lot of people retire at 67 because then they can live off their super and a little bit of age pension. Okay, but going back before, when you're having a look at your own investment options, if you're too conservative and you're holding too much cash or cash-like assets, it will pull down the returns inside your fund. So one of the things that we use in a gap analysis, so we spoke to one before, which was salary sacrifice, or personal contributions as well, which you can claim as a tax deduction as long as you lodge your notice of intent to claim before you do your tax returns. So that's if you just chuck in money yourself and not through your boss. So money through the boss is salary sacrifice. Money you put in yourself is a personal contribution, right? And you can choose whether to claim that as a tax deduction or not, lodging what's called a notice of intent to claim form. You can do that through your accountant. It'll be online. There's heaps of different places that you can find that form. If you wait long enough, your super fund will send you one out, and then you just fill it out and send it back. So that means you don't get your tax return done in the first week of July because you want your money. You have to wait if you've made a personal contribution and wait till that comes back to you. So going back, you can salary sacrifice. The other thing in a gap analysis is working longer, which is shown to be deleterious to life expectancy. So I wouldn't recommend that unless it's your only choice and unless you really love what you do, right? Like really love what you do, which is what I work on. Like let's all have so much fun doing what we do that we don't even consider it to be work. And then the other one that we were speaking about is increasing the exposure to growth assets within your risk tolerance, right? And you do that by understanding a little bit more about what your super fund has to offer. Can I go up a risk profile? Does that suit me? But then you have to be prepared for the accompanying volatility because the share market's volatile, right? So the Australian share market just in the last week or so has dropped 22%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good buying. Some people go, you beauty, good buying opportunity. Some people go, oh my God, my retirement's destroyed. I'm dead in a gutter. Okay. Now that is mindset to a certain
Just to
degree.
catastrophize slightly, but okay, yes.
Absolutely. So, but it's fun when we catastrophize sometimes.
Michelle, I just wanted to backtrack just before when you were saying comfortable retirement. Now, what does that include specifically?
All right.
Yes. Okay. So more money for travel, more money for clothes, more money for eating out. There is actually a side-by-side budget breakdown if you want to have a look at it. But from what we see as financial planners and the kind of clients that are coming to us, most of the people that we service, they spend that additional money on travel.
Definitely.
Okay.
Because, once you're retired, you've got time.
Yeah.
So you want to be able to do things.
Absolutely.
That have enough money to actually
you,
enjoy the time.
It does depend on your personality, doesn't it? I don't need much comfort at all. I'm just going to spend my retirement just lying around and reading. But anyway, that's not going to cost much money at all.
So I think that that's the important thing, though, just to write down what's important to you and what's like a special time to you. I love bushwalking. That doesn't cost anything. So
there you go. That's not going to cost you too much either.
That's it.
No, the boots are expensive, right?
100%. But, once you buy them, they should last you for a really long time. But no, truly, like it doesn't, things don't have to cost a lot of money. But we're also, you have to be practical as well. Like if you want to live in Sydney because that's where your kids are and you want to be close to your kids, then, you've got to figure out how am I going to be able to rent a place there? How can I get into the market somewhere else? But also I do think, and women are really good at this, it's community, right? It's making sure that you're really tapped into your community because, we're talking about homelessness before, and I don't mean to come across that there's any stigma to that. I think that, technically my grandmother would have been homeless. She lived with my parents, and she was like, sorry. Very special to us.
I know.
Sorry.
See, financial planners are beautiful.
And very emotional. People think that they're just cold-hearted. And
Can I just say, this means that 700,000 people will now ring you and want to talk to you because you actually care. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I think a lot of people care. Like it's not like the old days where, people trying to sell you a product. Like it's not like that. And I've been doing this for 25 years and it was like that.
Yes.
But it's not like that anymore. And that's another issue that we have in financial planning. Like half the people have left the workforce and we need 10 times the amount of financial planners just to service the amount of need that we've got coming in with this massive wave of retirement. So, I think that things like this that you ladies are doing today is really beautiful and really helpful to the community, because if people can do some of this themselves, that's going to be helpful to them. And really, at the end of the day, like, we have enough clients. I'm not doing this to generate business. What I want is for people to have dignity in retirement, to have dignified living before retirement, as single parents, as women that are in relationships, just women in general. Like, we need to kind of embrace the things that we're good at. But, if you are in the workforce, you don't settle for anything less than what anyone else would have. And it's not what any man would have, what anyone else would have.
When anyone else.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't even gender, pin yourself into a corner.
Well, I think if you quit financial planning, you could do life coaching, and send little 5-second grabs every morning to all of us women and say, you go, girl. Don't settle for less.
You and The Rock, you and Dwayne Johnson could do it. Yeah, nice.
Gorgeous. Michelle, there was one other thing that a lot of people were asking also. If we're in a position financially to be able to help our kids,
yes.
And of course we know, and we've talked about the difficulty of getting into real estate, what would be a really good thing that they could do to put aside for their kids' future?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of different things, Bank of Mum and Dad, you can go guarantor if you own your own property, right? So that's without putting any cash down. Again, talk to a mortgage broker. A lot of them are really helpful, The other thing that you could do is encourage really positive savings habits and relationship with money when they get their first little job. Kind of what I'm planning on doing with my kids, because they're just that little bit too young for a job yet, is to say, okay, you put this much money aside and mummy will match it. And then when you are working, as long as I can see that you're saving, you don't have to pay board. And so you just absorb that cost for a little while, like you absorb. There's a couple of probably, you could even do a couple of different things in tandem. We do have clients that take their kids in to see me when they're ready, just for that one-off thing. They don't need ongoing financial planning advice.
No.
Certainly they just...
But an intervention.
The way that we teach our children is everything, and we always want better for our children than what we did for ourselves. One of the things about me and my story is that I'm a financial planner because my family aren't great with money. And I used to sit up when I was a little kid listening to my parents worry about money when I was like 3 or 4 years old, and I was like, how can I make this better for them? What can I do to fix this? Because you can fix people, didn't you know? And you can change people as well, didn't you know? It's really easy. Give it a try. And it took me, 30 years to figure out you absolutely can't do that. And people come to you when they're ready. And it's just like if people kind of call up for financial planning and they don't come back, they're just not ready. They're not in a place where they can. And I'm not offended by that. So,
But what about the people who think, oh, well, it's too expensive for me to see a financial planner.
Absolutely.
I'm already stretched and I need, some solid future. What would you say about that?
Okay, I just want to acknowledge it is expensive. It's crazy expensive, and it's such a leap of faith when you don't know that person and you've got to agree up front to pay that no matter what.
Yes.
It's actually like we know that it's a really big deal, okay? There's a lot of research to support, surprisingly, peace of mind with getting that financial plan done, irrespective of outcome. Like, it's something in the high 80s. It's ridiculous. There was this big study done by Insignia a few years ago called The Value of Advice, and it was actually really nice as a financial planner to read some of the outcomes.
Yes.
But, so first of all, it's expensive. Secondly, if you can use some free tools and calculators, Barefoot Investor, start with those things, right? Start with those things. But there is research that supports that if you are in a gap, you get advice on that gap, and then you take the action steps to kind of bridge it. It does help. Of course it helps. If you can find a way to meet your goals and it's going to cost you a couple of grand to do that, and you actually do the things, right? It's worth it, okay? So failure to implement is the thing that you've got to be careful for with financial planning, because you can get the best plan in the world. If you don't do it, it's not worth anything. So that's where stuff like going back to super, it's something I'm really passionate about. a salary sacrifice is good because you set it up with work and it comes out every week. And some weeks it's like a real grudge that it's coming out and, you probably feel a little bit bitter about it. But really, unless you actually go and cancel it with your payroll, which you can at any time, it's something that's there just quietly working away. Power of compounding interest, superannuation as well is massively advantaged for taxation. So only paying 15 cents in the dollar instead of 32 on your middle tax rates.
I love financial types when you say things like, it's only taxed at this, like you all know the facts and the figures and everything, and you all seem similarly delighted by them.
We're nerds, mate.
I guess it's when we win an award for writing an ad or you heal someone who's got some sexual health problem. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Same buzz.
We all feel satisfaction in different areas of our lives, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing. We're all individuals and, just lean into that. Whatever you're good at, whatever you like doing.
Basically, if there was one word to sum up your ethos, Michelle, how you work, your vibe, everything about you, it's empowerment. You're all about empowering individuals.
Actually, you do sound like I thought Janet had just sprung that question on you and was going to make you come up with one word. But no, she was giving you the word empowerment. And yes, I would like to concur that is definitely a vibe that I get from you. Yes. Is that indeed all your kind of advice is very empowering. Yeah.
So and I think as well, if I was to choose a word for myself, it would be happiness, because that's what people should be going for. And then, all of this stuff is just the infrastructure on the road to that, right?
Yeah.
So
it's the scaffolding of happiness.
That's right. It's just creating a really nice road. And yeah, there's lots of free tools available, and if I could just encourage people to put in a little bit of time each day, just learn yourself. There's never been a better time to learn. Just stick to the government websites because that's going to be edited and it's going to be accurate. Okay, so source of websites, very important.
Well, look, it's been absolutely amazing chatting to you today, Michelle. I mean, I was expecting someone who was just going to crunch some numbers and say some
possibly be a bit doer,
and
not at all.
And not very fabulous, but you are absolutely fabulous.
Thank you.
And I was going to say, would we round this out by just sort of summarising some top tips for women 40 plus fabulous and men? Because we know a lot of men listen to this.
Sure, they do.
Because they want to know what women think.
We like men. I just want to say that.
Yes, we love men.
We love men.
We love men.
Yes.
We do.
But anyway.
Well, it's the rise of the matriarchy, Janet. It's not upon us. We're in it, okay? We're in it.
Absolutely.
All right, so my top tips are check in on your retirement, okay? Go to the ASFA Superguru calculator. Work out if you've got a gap, okay? So make sure that you've got a good retirement happening. Really super important. Second to that, know what your goals are and really test them to see if they're aligned to your heart, right? I know that that's a very fairy thing to say for a financial planner, but it's really true, okay? Put down your goals and then I guess pick a goal and break it down, okay? So really unpack that goal. Have a look at what a SMART goal is and make sure it's structured to that. So specific, measurable, relevant, time-based, that sort of thing. And break it down into tiny little steps. So, for example, I want to buy a new car. What kind of new car do you want? Look at what the price is. Let's look at what our options are to buy a car. Do we have equity somewhere? Do we have savings? Do we have to save up? Can we lease, right? And then, you break it down into the costing. So you choose a pathway and then you break it down. If you say saving and buying it in cash, what is it per week? How many years is it going to take me to buy it? What's the current rate of inflation? Add it on to that, just simply. Break it down into tiny little action steps, because if you do something every day towards your goals, right? Like, so one of the biggest motivational speakers in the world, Natasha Graziano, she went from nothing to like mega superstar in 4 years, 3 years actually. And she's got, the most famous people in the world appearing on her podcast. She's, got a book out, all of these sorts of things. And it's just, she wanted to do it. She did it. She worked her ass off. Excuse me. You probably have to beep that out. And she is where she is, right?
We're not editing you at all, Michelle. No.
Unplugged.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, gorgeous. Everything you have said today is so incredibly valuable. But that's not all. There's extra. Because, Michelle, you and Feel Good Financial Planning are offering an amazingly generous giveaway exclusively for She Wasn't Born Yesterday, the second most successful podcast after that Natasha lady. But one lucky listener will win a complimentary discovery session with you.
Yes.
Michelle.
Yes.
And remember, you are the NSW and ACT Financial Planner of the Year, and this 2-hour deep dive will cover their budget, their goals, and offer general advice, tissues, everything you need. And usually this discovery session is valued at $2,000, but you're offering it. That's a lot of ka-ching.
It is.
As a generous giveaway for a lucky listener. And all you need to do is click the special link that says Win Awesome Discovery Session in the show notes. That's the only place you're going to find it. So enter your deets for a chance to win.
Yes.
There's more. Piling on the bonuses to the bonuses. Thanks to Michelle, we now know that we need to set strong goals to know and grow what we want. So for a free goal-setting mini ebook, just head to the Contact Us page on their website at www.feelgoodfp.com.au. Enter your details with free ebook in the message section and grab your free goal-setting little freebie. Thank you, Michelle. It's been absolutely amazing. And are you charging us by the hour today?
No.
We are very, very fortunate.
Not
It's
today.
pro bono. How exciting. Thank you so much, Michelle. It's been so helpful to so many people. And we'll get back to you and give you some feedback on what people are saying.
Absolutely.
Feedback would be good. Thanks so much.
Gorgi, thanks for listening in today. We hope you enjoyed this ep.
But we'd really love to hear more from you. We'd love to know exactly what you actually think of us and our guests.
So if you're on Spotify, you can rate us. We love stars. And on Apple Pods, write us a little blurb. Let us know what you think, and hopefully we can keep going. Apple loves their algorithms, and we love you. So thanks for listening. We really enjoy your company.
See you next week on She Wasn't Born Yesterday.
Hope 1032. Thanks for listening.